All right, you know that we have to talk about inflation today, so I will be going through the CPI report that just came out. It is basically a report that goes through the inflation that happens to consumer on a monthly basis. The PPI that came out was actually the producer price index that came out yesterday, well, 2 days ago, effectively. And it was relatively hot as well, but all eyes was actually on CPI because they actually want to see if CPI tends to show us a more persisting inflationary trend, which sadly it actually did. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just gonna get into this right now for you guys. Let me just zoom in over here. Okay, let's go through it pretty quickly because I'll be going out in a bit. I'm going overseas for a quick day trip and such. But anyway, let's go through. Okay, for the CPI, it actually came out to be 0.4% month over month. Which is kind of slightly on the higher side. We are expecting 0.2%. We do have street consensus at about 0.3%, but a lot of people are actually looking at 0.2%. However, it is not that much to be worried about in a sense because shelter was actually the largest contributor for the monthly increase. Over here, you can see that over half of the increase, which is more than 50% of whatever inflation that we actually had in this month was actually from shelter. Again, I feel the need to actually explain this to you guys every single CPI report. We kind of expect shelter prices to stay up. Effectively, there's still about like another month or so. Some people already expect shelter prices to actually be going downwards. Okay, personally, I expect it to be going down in November. Okay, some people expected it to be going down in September. Some people expect it to go down even in August. Okay, and of course, I think the street consensus is actually looking at about December for it to actually start to go down. So the thing is that right now, we do see shelter prices still contributing to a huge part of inflation. And of course, that is worrying to say the least. But I think that we need to talk about something that's even bigger than just this report over here. Okay, I'm just going to expand myself out here. We have to talk about the whole entire conflict situation in Israel and Hamas as well. Simply because what used to happen in such a situation, with the latest example that we actually had was with Russia and Ukraine. Okay, so the things that chances are we are probably going to see an increase in prices such as your gold, your silver, basically precious metals in general should most likely be going up in price. However, that's not going to be shown in your CPI reports. And on top of that, you're also probably going to be seeing such things like medical aid, such as energy prices. All of these things are going to be going up as well. So do take note of all these different things that would most likely be going up in price in your upcoming few CPI reports, things that would actually be reflected in the CPI. Okay, I'm going to be going back into the report so that you can actually see what's happening over here. Okay, so just to give you guys like a example of some sort, you can see the graph that actually goes through this whole entire thing. Right now, we actually see September currently at 0.4%. Of course, last month was relatively hot. We actually got 0.6%. And, we're able to actually bring it down to 0.4%, which is all right. Honestly speaking, we wanted to see a 0.2. We don't really want to see anything higher than 0.3%. So for us to actually see 0.4%, it's kind of proven that inflation is starting to become way more stickier than normal. It's persisting inflation, according to Bill Ackman, exactly the case. Okay, so let me get into the numbers for you guys. For the food index, it actually went up by 0.2%. Again, like I said, food index has not decreased a single month since 2020. Okay, it has been consistently going up and up and up every single month. The only time that we actually get food inflation not going up was, I think there was 1 month where we had 0% inflation on food alone. Okay, that was only 1 month. There was no deflationary pressure whatsoever. Everything else, we basically just had inflationary pressure, 0.1, 0.2, 0.5, 0.8%, whatever it is, it consistently went up. Okay, food away from home, same thing, went up by 0.4%. Again, not very good. Food at home also went up 2.4% over the last 12 months. So effectively, you can see that food prices is really, it's not going down at all. And that's going to be one of the big issue. The reason why in the previous war case scenario that we had with Russia and Ukraine, food prices became one of the things that kept on going up in price simply because Ukraine was a main player in the export import for wheat. And of course, as you know, wheat is, part of all the different staple food out there, be it your rice, noodles, bread, whatever it is, you need wheat. And because if Ukraine is one of the key players in the export and import game of wheat, it's not going to help the market in terms of food supply if Ukraine is under a war case scenario. So of course, right now, with the whole Russia and Ukraine situation still ongoing at the moment, food prices is still going up. And of course, where this actually matters is the people of United States or even people from other countries, because this food prices situation is not only happening in the US, it's happening globally. Okay, so chances are you go to the market, egg prices is already a lot higher than what it was back in 2020. Bread prices is a lot more than it was in 2020. Whatever it is, be it your fish, your meat, even your vegetables, whatever it is, chances are prices are a lot higher right now. Okay, and that's all inflation. Which is why I think food is a very, very important part, simply because cars and whatnot, you can say that the lower income group, they don't really need to buy cars. They don't need new apparel every single month or every single year or whatnot. But I think food is something that everyone need equivocally throughout the whole entire scale, and it constantly goes up in price. So that is the concerning part, especially with what's happening in Israel and Hamas conflict. With Palestine and Israel, that's going to be a whole issue as well for them, because food prices is going up, and that's going to be kind of affecting in some way or form. Okay, energy prices actually went up by 1.5% in September. I think this is the start of something that could very well be connected to what's happening in Israel as well. Simply because whenever you're talking about any single country in the Middle East, you are basically going to be talking about energy prices, because Arab countries, Saudi Arabia, basically one of the biggest, basically the biggest player in the oil export game, with OPEC being they're one of their biggest export machine. Energy prices is definitely going to be affected. So even if Saudi Arabia is not directly involved in this whole entire conflict, energy prices is definitely going to be affected, which is why energy prices most likely will be going up. So do not expect energy prices to stay down for the time being. In the short term, most likely energy prices would go up, but we do not know by how many percent. Okay, for the last part of this, which is the core inflation, which is the index for all items without food and energy. So like I said, food and energy are the two things that basically everyone actually needs. Okay, so core inflation basically just shows a inflation that really matters to the middle income, the higher income people, because this is where you take away the basic necessity, such as food and energy. So you're talking about apparel, you're talking about furnishings, you're talking about the medical, you're talking about insurance, all these different things that actually conclude the inflation report. And usually we're expecting core inflation to not go up by that much. Getting a 0.3% core inflation increase in September is actually really, really bad. Okay, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of us, we are actually expecting core inflation to really start to show a deflationary trend, which is hoping to see it actually, instead of rose 0.3%, we want to see a decline by a 0.1%, decline by 0.2%, simply because where the most inflation actually comes in, usually we actually see it coming in from food and energy, which is the more volatile of the whole entire group. But because of shelter prices right now, it's also helping to prop up inflation in the important, the less food and energy side, which is the core inflation side. And that's the reason why we are starting to see core inflation starting to reach at almost 3%. According to Bill Ackman, he actually think that core inflation will go all the way to 3% year over year. So of course, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, because if core were to actually hit 3% year over year, you can actually assume that normal inflation would be sitting about 3.5%. And that is so far away from the 2% long-term inflation rate, according to Jerome Powell. So right now, this is the whole entire situation that we have on the inflation report. But the thing is, it's kind of weird. The market is kind of liking it at the same time, which is why, like I said, you cannot really argue with the market. The market is a very confusing piece of instrument. No one understands what the market wants. Of course, right now, the thing is that you cannot only take into account for a normal CPI report simply because of the whole Israel Hamas situation. Whatever new source of information that comes in via the Bloomberg terminal, where they talk about some new updates happening in Israel or some new thing happening in Gaza, you definitely know for a fact that that might be affecting stock prices as well. Again, I do want to reiterate that this whole entire conflict is not going to be affecting the whole entire economy to the scale where you might actually imagine it to be. Because right now, none of the big players are actually directly involved in this conflict as of now. Okay? China is not in the picture, US is not in the picture, Russia is not in the picture, Saudi Arabia is not really in the picture just yet. Once any of these big players actually step into the ring and properly fight it out and go for each other's guts, that's when you actually see a huge economy downturn. And of course, when that actually happens, you can just go through historical failures in the economy system. A lot of time you can see that it's from the financial side of things, but a lot of time it can also be from war situation, political battles of some sort. And a lot of time it's surprising, or well, not surprising, that US always seems to be in the middle of all of it. So yes, of course, for the sake of volatility in the US, you can see market go up a lot, and in this kind of cases, you can get to see market go down by a huge margin as well. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have for this video. I thought that I want to cover the whole entire inflation thing pretty quickly for you guys, so that you can know what to expect in the market in the next coming week or month. But anyway, I am looking forward to the next FOMC, because the previous FOMC minutes just came out, and we are expecting one more hike. It's almost unanimously confirmed to have one more hike. So I think that's going to be interesting for us to really see what happens in the next FOMC, especially with this whole entire conflict. I'm pretty sure they are going to be talking about it as well. And also with this few different reports that we have been getting, inflation seems to be still persisting pretty hard. So I think the rate hike decision probably will stand. But anyway, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.